La idea pues, de la sesión de hoy es el webinar de preparación para exámenes idiomáticos, técnicas de paráfrasis. Estamos hoy con Lorena y Tom. Les damos la bienvenida. Ellos son los fundadores de English with Tom&Lore. ¿Listo? Entonces nos van a estar acompañando y dándonos toda la información para que sepan. Este webinar va a ser en inglés. ¿Listo? Si tienen preguntas, por favor, pueden dejarlas aquí en la cajita de preguntas del chat de Zoom. No sé, Lore, los vamos contestando de una vez o al final, como pues ustedes prefieran.
Sí, la idea es hacerle un poco más dinámico, así
Ok,
que abrimos cámaras y micrófonos cuando quieran participar, lo podemos hacer. Tampoco es que seamos muchos, somos menos de 20, así que yo creo que lo podemos manejar, así no se me aburran tanto. Mentira.
listo, perfecto. Entonces, nada, Lore y Tom, los dejo
Ujú.
a estos chicos. Entonces, de nada, de nuevo, pues muchísimas gracias a ustedes y bienvenidísimos todos pues a este taller.
Dale, súper. Muchas gracias, Cami.
Okay, well, hi guys. Hi everyone. Yeah, like if we want this to be an interactive space, you don't have to participate by any means, but if you'd like to participate, that's great. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Yeah, if you want to open your cameras and mics, that would be great. We would like to know a little bit about you before we start. We would like to know where are you planning to go? What type of degree do you want to start? If you want to participate,
Yeah,
anyone?
which language exam you might be taking. There are multiple options.
Not everyone. I think I saw someone I know actually. Is there? Well, maybe not. I just thought, but maybe
Well,
not.
yeah, look, if anyone wants to participate, we will throw some questions out later to the group. So yeah, if some of you are a little less shy and would like to participate, then we'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to start with the topic today. As Cami just told us, we're going to talk about paraphrasing techniques. But first of all, we would like to know if anyone knows what paraphrasing is. Guys.
This is a participation moment. So if anyone would like to participate.
Don't leave us alone, please.
What is paraphrasing?
Anyone? No.
It's like
saying... Oh, hi, Julie. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you so much.
Hi. So what I understand about paraphrasing is like trying to say the same things but using different words.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's you're right. Basically, you gave us the definition of paraphrasing. So paraphrasing is to restate or rephrase a text or a passage or an article or even a book using other words, but without changing the original meaning. So that's very important because here we are talking about academic rigorosity, right?
Indeed.
So this is our illustration of our Spider-Mans. Basically, yes, like we are trying to say the same thing without changing the meaning, but maybe with some little differences. I think Joa just joined. Hi, Joa, how are you?
No.
No?
Okay, but why is it important? So obviously paraphrasing is a way for you to exhibit your broad vocabulary, to show a greater understanding, to be able to really showcase your English.
Yeah, so here we want to tell you what is paraphrasing and what is not paraphrasing. So there is another concept in academic English, which is quoting. And it's different because when we quote, we don't change anything.
Mhm.
We just use the
Quotation marks, it's verbatim. You're
Mhm.
literally taking somebody else's words and adding it to your work, which is completely valid and necessary. It's an important academic tool. But in language exams particularly, you're not being asked to quote. You're being tested, you're being pushed, you're required to exhibit your broad vocabulary.
Exactly. So different to quoting, paraphrasing, we are saying the same thing, but with our own words. All right. What is not paraphrasing? Just changing a few words, maybe changing for synonyms, but leaving the exact same structure. Paraphrasing needs a little bit more than just changing a few words. So, but in paraphrasing, we are not focusing on the words that we are saying, we're focusing on expressing the ideas that the author wants to give us. And finally, paraphrasing is not an interpretation that includes our personal opinions. Again, we are talking about rigorosity. We rephrase with different wording, but the original meaning needs to remain the same. So anyone who can tell us why paraphrasing is important? Anyone? No? Not brave people around?
But you can use it, you can use paraphrasing in every single element of your response. So in your spoken, yes, you want to paraphrase the questions that are being posed to you. In your reading, your listening, your writing, it's really necessary to paraphrase in every element of a language exam.
Yeah, like I know that most of you are planning to go to another country to start undergrad or a master's degree or maybe a PhD. So this is something that you will need to use when you are submitting your work, when you are writing essays, when you are doing tests. But today we are going to focus on paraphrasing for language exams. So the language exams that we manage as a company are basically IELTS, TOEFL, and Duolingo. And the three of them use paraphrasing in almost every skill. I would say that the one actually who based its methodology in paraphrasing is IELTS. And that's something that we are going to point out a lot, well, not today, but when we teach how to face the exam, is that they always are going to tell you not the exact words. The exact words are not going to be in the text or in the listening practice. They are going to change the words, but the meaning is going to remain the same.
Also, you know, these exams are structured. There are multiple different candidates participating, all with different levels. You know, there's going to be easy paraphrasing. That's quite clear what they're talking about. For lower level students, there's going to be intermediate stuff, but also there's going to be some very advanced paraphrasing that's going to be, you know, maybe a little bit about your feeling, you know, where you have to describe or give a title to a body of text. You know, you have to work out what is that, you know, the main meaning behind that. What's the real the meaning behind that piece of work. So as you go through the exam, there will always be a myriad of different types of paraphrasing, very easy paraphrasing and much more advanced paraphrasing.
Yeah, so we think that paraphrasing perhaps is only in the writing, or we will need it only for the writing tasks. of this test, but actually paraphrasing is everywhere. It's in the 4 skills that they are always evaluating. So because we wanted from the beginning to make this a little bit more participative, we have an exercise for you. You don't need to open your mics or cameras, don't worry. But we would like you to perhaps write in the chat the answers to this. So this transcript and this question, it's from a listening part of the IELTS listening section. So in this listening section, you're going to hear a conversation between 2 people, and then you need to pair what they are saying with a list of options. So as I told you, maybe for some questions, which are going to be the easy ones, the basic ones, they will stay the same. Yeah, so for example, child memory, they will say child memory in the listening part, and that will be okay. So basic students or more basic students are going to get those. But when it's getting harder and you're thinking of getting a score 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, or even
above,
now the questions are going to be much more difficult. So that's where paraphrasing comes. So we want you to ask you this highlighting words that are here, what are they paraphrasing in the question? So if you can write in the chat the answer.
So the first one we're looking for is possible danger.
Yeah. So what do you think within these options?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or H.
Amazing. Juliana, D. Aja.
Yeah.
Perfect, guys.
And that, I think, is a fairly easy one. You know, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, so they are changing like both words, but they are using synonyms for changing those words. No, so danger, they are using threat. Potential, they are using possible. Amazing. The second one. So the second one is the impression of rapid motion. What letter do you think it is, guys? Your time. Very good, guys. Letter C. Fast movement. Yeah, so rapid motion.
Yeah, again, that one's quite a simple one. There's more words in the original text. But yeah, it's quite a straightforward one.
Perfect. Let's go with the third one. The third one is a little bit more, it's a bit longer. Because the interpretation is a little bit more difficult, it's a little bit more complex. So do you want to read the highlights?
Yeah, I saw a real kingfisher once when I was little. I was out walking with my grandfather, and I've never forgotten it.
So these imply more interpretation. Maybe this side paraphrasing, but still using the same idea of just changing a little bit the words.
Danielle, correct.
But remain
Angie, correct.
A childhood memory, very good. Joa, hi.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Let's go with the number 4. So we have highlighted ambiguous and exploit the natural word. So sentences, to me, it's about how ambiguous people are in the way they exploit the natural word. What do you think is the letter, guys?
To me, it's about how ambiguous people are in the way they exploit the natural world.
This is a little bit more difficult. So probably this is a band 8, 8.5.
It's not a particularly straightforward sentence structure.
Mhm.
To me, it's about how ambiguous people are in the way they exploit the natural world.
You are correct, guys. It's age. So a confused is paraphrasing ambiguous, and attitude to nature will be exploiting the natural world. So well done, all of you. And finally, we have the last one. If you can read it, Tom. Hold on, let's more in this. You can see it. Yeah.
Okay. The never-ending cycle one. Okay, so excuse me. So we're not doing never-ending cycle of existence.
Oh yeah, no, that one, yeah.
Okay. Apparently, it's a reference to the never-ending cycle of existence.
What's the letter? Continuity of life.
I don't think that one's too difficult as well. I think that's
so
fairly straightforward.
As every exam, it manages levels of difficulty. All right, and the last one.
Okay. He's holding a tiny bird in one fist. I like the way he's holding it carefully, so he does not hurt it. Yeah.
Very good, guys.
Again, with these processes, you've got to use a process of elimination as well. There's going to be some easy ones that are quite quick and simple to identify. So eliminate the easy ones, and then you'll be left with the more difficult ones, and there'll be fewer to choose from. So yeah, always use a process of elimination.
So this is an example of the listening part of an IELTS exam. Now we're gonna see how this is also happening in the reading part. Do you want to read this? The last bit?
Where from?
I think many.
Okay. Many incomplete skeletons were found, but they were included for the first time in an archaeosite, a complete hind leg that features a foot with 3 tiny toes. Such legs would have been far too small to have supported the 50-foot long Basilosaurus on land. Basilosaurus was undoubtedly a fully marine whale with possibly non-functional or vestigial hind legs.
So this is a normal reading academic test. The question is the hind leg of Basilosaurus, which is, I assume, is a dinosaur, was a significant find because it showed that. So of course you use here a process of an elimination, but you will see that there are words that will help, that is using paraphrasing techniques to give us the answer.
And again, when you're dealing with these texts, I studied biology, so I'm less, bothered by this sort of text, but you will encounter many different academic texts, and you may not know any of the subject matter, and that doesn't matter. You do not need to know what a Basilosaurus is. Obviously, it's some type of dinosaur, but other than that, all of the information will be there for you. So don't freak out if you don't understand the process they're discussing, or if it seems very, very complex, that all of the information will be there for you.
Yeah, so when they're saying it's far too small to have supported that weight on land, they are telling you they couldn't have walked on land. So that's the way how it works in the reading. Probably in the IELTS, it will be even more explicit, the paraphrasing techniques. The TOEFL uses a little bit more interpretation, or questions like this of what's the meaning of a word within a test, or inferring questions, but still they are using paraphrasing as a base to create this type of tests. All right.
Well, so I just want to highlight the answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, The answer was it could not have walked on land because obviously it would have been far too small to have supported 50-foot long Basilosaurus on land, a fully marine whale. So, yeah.
All right. So for the writing, is and the speaking is where you will be able to use the technique, not only understand it and understand the technique that the exams use, but also like show that you are able to paraphrase something. I don't know if any of you have been in studying with academics or with teachers, the exams, but probably paraphrasing won't be new for you if you have studied a language for a language exam, because they will say always paraphrase the question. So that's how it works. When you have a prompt for a writing for a writing task, a lower score or a person with a lower score will use the same words with the same structure.
They'll just flip it
to answer the question. So, for example, in this case,
do you think that parents should be held responsible if their child causes trouble at school or in public? I think that parents should be responsible if their parents cause trouble because they're the main source of influence. That's a low-level response. You're literally, flipping the idea. A higher-level response, you could even introduce the concept of children and schooling. Well, I'm not a parent, I don't have kids, but I do have a brother and sister, and in my family, blah, blah, blah. You can introduce the topic before you even go into paraphrasing. So a nice response would be the behavior of children depends on different factors, but although it's true that teachers and other adults have an important influence on them, parents must assume the main responsibility when dealing with disruptive or violent behavior. Okay, so again, you don't want to be reading off a script. If you try and memorize responses, it's not going to give you the best results. The instructors know that people are memorizing responses, and again, if the parts you memorize are very tight and very advanced, and then your level drops a lot when you're actually just speaking, it's quite clear to an instructor that you have been memorizing templates, etc. But what's good is to get yourself used to responding, to practicing, to testing yourself, recording yourself, practicing all of these responses, and to try and elevate your level to go more and more complex each time.
And finally, we have an example of how it would work in a speaking part. And in this case, it will work very similar to how it works in the writing. They will ask you a question, can be in any part of the speaking. In this case, we're using a question of this part 1 of the IELTS, the speaking IELTS. And again, a lower level of student just will will answer the question with the same structure.
They'll just flip it. They'll flip it from a question to an answer. And, really, in the exam, if that's what you have to do, then that's okay. We don't want you to go paraphrase crazy or to freak out and to
because you are not paraphrasing enough.
To overthink it, because some of these questions are really weird, they're very random, and they might throw you off. Obviously, the best approach is to just practice and practice under pressure, and to get yourself used to being in that environment. So you've got the best possible preparation going into it. We want you to paraphrase. It's really important that you do. But in the moment, if you can't find the words, if you can't, then just continue and just flip the question, because you're much better continuing and maximizing your time than worrying too much about, oh my God, I've got to paraphrase everything.
Yeah, this is like working out. The most you do it, the better you feel with it. So when you're doing the exam, it will feel natural. Yeah, if you are there and the words don't come, just like do what you can.
Yeah.
That's basically the advice.
So how much traveling do you hope to do in the future? A low level response would just flip that. I hope to do lots of traveling in the future, and then expand. I need to travel for work. I don't need to travel for work right now, but I'm getting promoted to regional manager soon. So that will involve lots of business trips. Okay. You're flipping it. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can really expand. No, I love traveling. You're introducing the concept of traveling. Currently, I'm working for a multinational company, but my current position doesn't require me to travel much. However, next year, I'm expecting to get a promotion and become a regional manager, which will allow me to visit different offices and teams around South America. So yeah, you can introduce the concept of travel before you even start paraphrasing. I love traveling. I hate traveling. I haven't really traveled much, you know, or I'm very fortunate. I was able to travel all of Europe a couple of years ago. You can introduce the concept, no, and then go into the question.
Okay, guys, so this was just to so you understand the importance of paraphrasing when you are facing a language exam, and it will be in every single skill. Perhaps there are some in which you will need to use it more, but the way how they have designed exams is under certain techniques, and one of them is paraphrasing. And that's not like just because they decide to do it. It's because it's actually a very important academic tool, an academic technique that you will use when you pursue further education. So let's remember that at least IELTS and TOEFL are academic exams. So
yeah. I just wanted to say about overcooking. Sometimes people get obsessed. If we go back to the writing, you know, do you think parents should be held responsible if their children causes trouble at school or in public? So some people get obsessed with paraphrasing and feel that they have to literally change every single word in the question. Now, if you have a very high level and this comes to you very quickly, okay, great. But some words like parents, you know, that's a difficult word to paraphrase, and it is okay using parents in your response. That's completely fine. You know, in your whole essay, you're probably going to have parents about 6 or 7 times, you know, and that's completely fine. You do not have to paraphrase absolutely everything. What we tell our students is, yeah, do your best. What we want when you're writing a response is that you spend a little bit of time preparing your answers, structuring. Then you go into doing your intro, your overview, your body paragraphs. You get everything finished. If you know that there's something that you need to, or you would like to paraphrase, but in the moment you can't find the word, write a note. Yeah, come back to it later. Hopefully you've managed to write your response and you've saved some time to check your regular mistakes, the ones that you know you make when you write under pressure, your spelling, maybe you've missed an article, these regular mistakes that each of us have as an individual. And then you can come back to those words. I mean, one thing that I think is really important when you're writing is to eliminate incredibly basic, simplistic words like big, little, very. You know, we can easily eliminate those words for much more complex, you know, huge, incredibly. You know, there's a wealth of other suggestions that you could replace those words with, but the key is getting the balance right. You don't want to lose time thinking like, oh my God, Tom&Lore said I need to paraphrase and I can't think of traveling. I need to can't think of the word. You know, in that moment, put traveling, carry on, finish your essay, get it done. Make a note or a mental note that yes, you'd like to change traveling. And when you're checking and correcting, go back and make those corrections. It's much more important to complete the task and get everything done. on time than lose valuable seconds or minutes trying to think of complex words to put in. So it is about getting that balance. And what makes it easier is building your vocabulary. Building your vocabulary, using those words, making it become much more natural and sort of intuitive, you know, instead of just trying to pluck big words out and squeeze them in.
All right, so this is actually a good introduction for the first technique that we want to talk about in order to paraphrase. So we have been talking about the importance of it, but how do we do it? So the first and the most, I would say, obvious way to paraphrase is finding synonyms. It's important that you don't rely, for example, in a dictionary or in the thesaurus to find what's the word that you want to change, because sometimes if you change one word, it's going to change the meaning. So you need to be very careful with this, but synonyms is a very easy way to paraphrase, of course, combined with something else. So that's why we always are talking about be accurate, be rigorous, with leaving the essence and the meaning of the text. And also related with what Tomas was saying, you don't need to change every single word. There are words that are impossible to change, and there are words that is not necessary to change. And at the end, what we want you to do is that this process becomes more natural, especially for the speaking part, where you want to show the examiner that the way how you speak is natural and it's not forced. Instead of like being very crazy about paraphrasing. So we have here a text in the left side of the screen and the paraphrasing that
would anybody like to read the text? Any other group? We would love to have a volunteer.
Great.
Excellent.
Brave one. Could you please start with the left hand text, please?
Sure. So the invention of rockets is linked inextricably with the invention of black powder. Most historians of technology credit the Chinese with its discovery. They base their belief on studies of Chinese writings or on the notebooks of early Europeans who settled in or made long visits to China to study its history and civilization.
Excellent reading,
Great,
fantastic
really
pronunciation of inextricably. That's a difficult word.
Mm-hmm.
Would someone else like to read the other side, please? Any volunteers? Brave volunteers? This is an inclusive, safe space. There's no judgment. We do this every single day. We are professionals that work with trying to build people's confidence and get them feeling that they're spoken and their all-round English is as good as it should be, you know. So if we've got another volunteer, that would be fantastic.
Me.
Okay, yeah. Who? Angie? Sorry, Daniel, yeah. We'll come to you next time. Angie, would you like to read this other part, please?
Okay. After analyzing Chinese writers and the works of Europeans who studied the Chinese civilization, the majority of academics have recognized that black powder was invented in China, and moreover, its discovery is closely connected to the creation of the first rockets.
Thank you very much, Angie. That's fantastic.
Very good, Angie. All right, so here we have highlighted in colors the synonyms that we have used to change and to paraphrase the original version of this article. So, for example, we have here link inextricably, I think Juliana did it better than me.
It's not easy.
Uh,
Closely connected.
mhm.
Closely connected.
Closely connected. That's the way how we used the synonyms to just change a little bit the words that we are using. Same thing with most historians of technology. Like sometimes we can also reduce these type of things, and we
So the paraphrase of this was the majority of academics. Now they're not talking about technology, but that's okay. It doesn't necessarily always have to be 100% the same. You know, most historians, the majority of academics. So that's really the paraphrase there.
Same thing with credit. Credit, the Chinese with its discovery, we have changed credit for the verb to recognize. And Chinese with its discovery, we change it for invented in China. We will see later other techniques that we are using here, but at the moment we are focusing on just the synonyms.
But notice black powder has not been paraphrased because it's impossible to paraphrase that. Chinese, okay, well, we can say China, but you know, some things are unparaphrasable. So don't freak out and think you have to change everything. And also, you know, this is an exercise that we're doing to show, you know, what you can do. But we don't expect students to be paraphrasing this much. If you can, fine. And if it works and if it flows and if it's comes quite naturally to you, and that's great. But there's a lot of paraphrasing going on here. So, you know, you've got to balance things with writing your response or, you know, the flow that you have and thinking about stuff. So there's always a happy medium. Compromise.
Of course, you won't need to paraphrase something like this in your exam. This is just an example. You will need to do it in your academic journey when you are at university and you're
writing your thesis,
a dissertation or something. You will need to do this. This is just an example of techniques that you can use. So finally, same thing, notebooks, or studies, no, not books. We change it for works. Yeah, like, and the works of Europeans. Amazing. So this is the first technique that we can use to paraphrase. Then we have another one, and is making use of conjunctions and connectors. So that also will help to connect your ideas, to maybe be a little bit more clear about what you want to say. And well, this is more of a spoiler for your writing techniques that maybe is not related to paraphrasing, but you will need to create complex sentences, and to clear complex sentences in writing, you will need to use conjunctions and connectors.
Yeah, but also this is something you should be incorporating into your spoken response. I find it very easy to use connectors, conjunctions. I mean conjunctions, I don't really notice when I'm using them, obviously, because English is my native language. But connectors, I don't use that often when I'm speaking. When I'm having normal day-to-day conversations, you can sometimes sound a little bit too verbose or a little bit maybe condescending if you're just throwing in lots of connectors all the time in a day-to-day conversation, you know. But when you're giving your spoken response, it's very important that you use these tools to elevate your level. It shows a much more whole, rounded understanding of the language. So yes, and especially if you're giving a speech, a presentation in a university context, using connectors is necessary to add emphasis and yeah, to really exhibit your fantastic level of English.
So in this one, we try to use subordinating conjunction after, coordinating conjunction, a fanboy, and a connector moreover. So that will help us to like connect ideas in one single paragraph. We're going to expand a little bit more on that. But it's also a way like how you can easily not translate, but maintain the meaning of a text using your own words. Then, and this is, I would say, also quite intuitive when you are paraphrasing, and is changing the sentence structure. So when we talk about changing the sentence structure, we can think about changing the tenses. Like if the text is using the present, you perhaps find a way to use the present perfect. Or if the text is using passive active voice, you can use passive voice. Here we're in the sentence structure, we're going to talk also about complex sentences, complex compound sentences, but we've dedicated one slide to those on its own. So for example, here, if you see in the first, the original text, they are using all the verbs of the 3 sentences that they have in the present. No? So the invention of rockets is present simple. Most historians of technology credit present simple. They base present simple. So when we paraphrase, we can change it a little bit, of course, thinking of maintaining the same meaning. So we have said that after analyzing Chinese writers and the works of Europeans, the majority of academics have recognized that black powder was invented. I think that this comment is not there, sorry. I don't know if it's in everyone. Who said yeah, sorry, this comment is not there. I'm very picky with punctuation. So the majority of academics have recognized that black powder. So have recognized, we pass it to the present perfect, and black powder was invented. So we pass it from a passive voice that is used, active voice that is used in the original text, and passive. We use the passive voice here and in the next sentence as well. So that's another tool that you can use to paraphrase. Sorry about the comment, it bothers me. And finally, the other, more the technique, but I would say the result that you have with paraphrasing is reducing a little bit the wording of a paragraph. In this case, well, we have a paragraph, and we are using like the number of words will
I think they're
remain
actually very similar.
Very similar, but when you are facing a book or essays or academic papers, well, you will have to reduce all the context of one of those into perhaps a paragraph or even a sentence.
Yeah, and you know, that's often the greatest problem people face when writing their thesis or dissertation. They can keep on writing and writing and writing, but to condense a text is incredibly difficult. And if you only have 10,000 words, it might sound like a lot, but if that's your thesis, you know, you're going to chew up those words quite quickly. So to be able to condense your writing down is a real skill.
So here, what we did was more, the original text had 3 simple sentences. So this is hard grammar, but it's grammar that probably you will need to understand if you want a band 7 or above in your IELTS, and a band and 100, a score of 100 in your TOEFL in the writing part. And it's that here we're talking about 3 simple sentences that have a verb, a subject, a verb, a complement. They may be long sentences, but they are simple. And what we did with the second part was create that condense that and create one single complex compound sentence. I'm not going to expand more on this. If you need help on your writing, we can help you with that. But well, in this space, we can't explore all this.
Yeah, it's several classes, and it's not a quick fix. It's hard grammar. But yes, it's really important that you explore fanboys, subordinating and coordinating conjunctions, and yeah, complex compound sentences, complex sentences, compound sentences, and learn how to punctuate properly. English is very short and concise. We like short sentences. You know, all of our Spanish native speaking students write these long, poetic, very sort of elaborate sentences that flow everywhere. And yeah, if you're going to need to incorporate some complex sentence structures to get a really good score in your writing. You don't need to do every single sentence like that, not at all. But when you write a large sentence, a long sentence in English, you're opening yourself up to the opportunity of making more errors. You're much safer writing short sentences. You make a point, full stop. When you go into larger sentences, you're opening yourself up to more opportunity for error. So it's incredibly important you understand the grammar, correct punctuation. And this is something that most native English speakers can't do. If you took a survey of the general population in England or America, the majority of people wouldn't be able to punctuate properly, academically, and formulate long sentences because we don't need to generally. Maybe if you ask my granddad's generation, they probably could because schooling was different then. But this generation, our generation now, is unless you write for a living, you're a writer, you're a publicist or a journalist, most people, or an academic, most people don't need to be able to formulate very complex sentence structures in day-to-day English.
So here we have condensed 3 simple sentences and create a big one complex compound sentence that is very well punctuated, and that would give you a very good score in your writing task. I don't know, guys, if you have any questions. You can open your mic or leave us the questions in the chat.
Do you want to stop sharing and then we can see if people are putting hands up or anything? Yeah, we're happy to answer as many questions as you want to ask. It'd be lovely to get to know some of you. We're an open book if you've got any questions for us.
Yeah. It can be in Spanish also. We will reply in English, but it can be in Spanish if you feel more confident. No? So should we go to the exercise?
Was it any good? Did you enjoy the presentation? Was it terrible? Yeah. Or I mean, let's keep the questions focused on your process. You know, what is it about paraphrasing that you're having problems with? Or yeah. Are there any tips or extra bits of advice you're looking for? This is a brief overview. I mean, yeah, when we work with our students, we go much more in depth and looking at specific exercises, going over it together, setting lots of homework, etc. But this is something that you can do yourself as well. Lots of our students are highly motivated. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, guys, so if you don't have any questions, we have an exercise for you. So we are going to give you 3 minutes to paraphrase one statement that we have, that we will show you in the screen. Try to use, don't need to be all the techniques that we show you. You can use 1 or 2, but try to use the knowledge that we have passed through today.
Okay, so we're going to share a typical exam question.
No, it's not this exam question.
It's not an exam
No,
question? Okay, what is it?
no.
Okay, we're going to share
it's a
something.
statement, yeah.
Okay.
That one. All right, just give us 1 second. Place the timer somewhere where it's not.
Can you see the
interrupting.
timer, guys? We're going to need a response from somebody. Can you see the timer?
I don't.
No, I think we're not sharing. I think you can't share the timer as well.
I think you can share both, but the problem is
We use Teams mainly. It's our main platform, so we're not really Zoom people. But we're going to set the timer. We'll tell you that it's starting now.
Yeah.
The time is starting now, and I'll give you some warnings. I'll give you a warning 30 seconds before it's done.
I was actually seeing the timer.
Oh, great.
Seconds ago, so yeah.
Great. Oh, that's good.
Okay. Sorry. I'm just gonna share. So this is the statement. Please, guys, paraphrase this and
Process by women, schoolgirls, and university students are gaining in momentum in Iran. The uprising began following the death of a 22-year-old, I can't say that. Mahsa Amini on the 16th of September at the hands of Iran's morality police. Iran's morality police. Okay, so 30 seconds left, guys.
And we can give them a little bit more time.
Yeah, or we'll answer a couple of them now and then we can answer some others later. No? Okay, so I think we're up for time. Yeah, no more time. Not loving Zoom. Okay, guys. Yeah, so please stop there.
You can continue, no worries.
Yeah, if you haven't written a response, you can continue, but hopefully some of you have managed to respond to that in the 3 minutes. Okay, so what we've got.
Juliana, thank you. So I need to read it, Tom.
The feminist movement is having more support these days in Iran, and the main reason is the recent death of Mahsa Amini, a young Iranian woman who was murdered by the police. Excellent. Well done.
Amazing, very good, Juliana. So you use lots of the techniques I think that we showed today. For example, you use the passive voice, was murdered by the police. There is something here, Juli, it's good that you said, I mean, if you were going to be discussing the feminist movements and all that, it would be all right to do it in your essay. But when we keep the source, like we are going to give a reference in our essay, it needs to be exactly what we see in the text. So actually they are not talking about feminist movements here. It's true they're talking about women, schoolgirls, but that doesn't exactly mean there is a feminist movement. So those are the things that you need to be careful about, of course, when you're writing your dissertation or your essays and you're discussing feminist movements, that will be fine. But yeah, in the case, we need to be quite particular, quite careful with rigorosity here. Okay, let's...
I like feminist movement. I think it's great, but Laurie's point is more, lots of our students, they read an exam question and they don't necessarily answer the question itself, and they go off on tangents and they answer something that's similar to the question, but not necessarily the question itself. And that's really important to bring it back to that. So you could say Iranian women is an easy way of talking about this group.
Yeah, all right. So Joa says, do you want to try?
Disagree. In Iraq begin when a young woman died last month after being arrested by the morality police. Very good, Joa. Yes. It would probably be disagreements. Okay, you've got to be very careful, Joa, with when you have words given to you in the text, it's very, very important that you spell them correctly. So you've spelled Iran incorrectly here. So that's a mistake that you really need to be careful of.
Change the country, Joa. But we understand you're under pressure.
No, definitely. But that is something that's really important. When it's given to you in the question, you've got to check your spelling. If you're using the same vocab and words from the question, that you have to be repeating the correct spelling. DA, who's DA?
Daniel Acosta.
Danny. Social movements that involve women from various ages are having a remarkable time in Iran. This activism started after a 20-year-old was murdered on the 16th of September by local police. I love this response, except for having a remarkable time. When somebody tells me they're having a remarkable time, I always think of something positive. It was fantastic. We had a remarkable time at the Mambo Museum in Bogota or at the local fair. So it is remarkable. You're right. It's unusual. It's a defining moment in their history. You're right. It is remarkable. But contextually here, we have to be careful because remarkable in this context, I would 100% take as positive, and this is certainly not a positive scenario. So I'd probably social movements that involve women from various ages are having a unprecedented time in Iran. Maybe unprecedented. It's never before happened. But love your response. Excellent, excellent response.
Amazing. I haven't seen that one that uses conjunctions or connectors. So perhaps something that we can work on.
Yeah, after, who's this?
Fiorella.
Fiorella. Hi, Fiorella. After the murder of Massa Amari 1 month ago, the protests of women have been increasing because of the repression of,
there is a spelling mistake, but
repression of Iraq's state.
And actually use
yes,
subordinating conjunctions.
Well done, but again, we're spelling the name of the country incorrect. This is a critical error. When you have it in the text, please make sure your spellings are correct. When you're selecting words out of your own lexicon, obviously it's very important that you get your spelling right. I'm severely dyslexic. I can't spell properly. That's part of the reason why Laurie and I teach together. It's a very unusual dynamic. But yeah, spelling in these exams is incredibly important. So difficult words that you feel might come up, please try and memorize them. Please employ any sort of technique that you find best. We like using flashcards. Maybe you're not a flashcard person. Maybe you need to write it out 1,000 times. Whatever works best for you. We're all individuals, so we all have different learning processes. Okay.
Well done, guys. Yeah, I think you did a really good job with this exercise. Well done. And yeah, we both hope this has been beneficial.
Yeah, indeed.
Just to finish, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about us and what we offer. We are English with Tom&Lore. We are a team of teachers. It's not only Tom and I, we also have other teachers, mainly native speakers, who are helping people to improve their levels of English. And more recently, we have dedicated part of our staff to train students for language exams. As we told you before, we work on IELTS, TOEFL, and Duolingo. But apart of that, if you need to improve your general level of English, or if you want to focus a little bit more in business English, we have lots of products that can be beneficial.
I mean, we focus on the students' learning objective, their real world context. The majority of our students are professionals or students, ambitious people with dreams of studying abroad or emigrating to other countries, or changing their career path, getting that promotion. So we really work around your objectives. We get to know our students, form close relationships with them. I think 70% of what we do is confidence building. It's amazing the level of English that the majority of our students already have, and the way they speak about their English as if it's so much lower than it is. So a lot of what we do is confidence building, creating safe spaces and pushing our students out of their comfort zone. So if you'd like any more information, we'd love to share that with you, but there's literally zero pressure.
Yeah, we also have community spaces. We in general manage everything one-to-one, but we have community spaces. We have a pronunciation club that actually started this week. We have a business club, a reading club for those of you who love literature. So we have meaningful conversations about short stories, and we have just general English clubs as well.
The pronunciation club is slightly different to our normal club spaces. It's more like a class. We're very lucky to have Myra on our team. Teaching pronunciation is incredibly difficult. And not many teachers have that ability. So it's kind of split 50-50. So she's showing you how to make the sounds, tongue positioning, mouth shape. You all have mirrors and you're looking at yourself. And then the other half of the session is where you repeat and practice, and we put you in breakout rooms, etc. So it's quite a unique space that we've just launched. But yeah, if you'd like any other information, we're going to add our WhatsApp number into the chat. But yeah, like I said, there's zero pressure. We give a free consultation to anyone who'd like to potentially participate in one of our spaces.
Yeah, just need to write us via WhatsApp or find us in Instagram as English with Tom&Lore.
Please like and subscribe. If that's okay. We need to build our social media presence and make that big Instagram money. So yeah, we'd love any more followers. That would be great.
And of course, thank you, Cami, and thank you to Pilar for the invitation.
Thank you, Tom&Lore. Muchísimas gracias, chicos. La idea es que estos talleres los hagamos continuamente, ¿sí? Esta es nuestra primera sesión, pero van a venir muchísimos más. Están ahí los datos en el chat, los que quieren también de pronto que se los enviemos por WhatsApp o por correo electrónico los datos, también lo vamos a hacer, ¿listo? Entonces, de verdad, agradecerles muchísimo su participación. Espero que la próxima vez no estén tan tímidos para participar, pero súper, súper chévere, de verdad, el ejercicio. Incluso acá yo también estaba mirando todo desde detrás de la pantalla.
No enviaste el tuyo, Cami.
No.
Yeah. It's a safe space. Look, there's no judgment here. It's a safe space. Learning is a process. People have different levels. You know, people have different objectives. Not everybody needs to get a 6. We had a student a while ago who had to get a 7 in writing, and it was incredibly difficult for her, and she was very high level. So writing is always one of the most difficult abilities, and yeah, your best.
But we can say we have a student in
Oxford
University.
So
That's good.
Oxford, yeah, top tier.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, any other questions? We're happy to answer any other questions. Otherwise, I guess we'll all go our separate ways. Anybody?
Thank you, John. Nice
John.
to hear from you.
Muchas gracias a todos. Les deseo una feliz noche y esperamos tenerlos por aquí de nuevo para seguir haciendo estos talleres de verdad tan productivos para todos. Muchísimas gracias a todos los asistentes. Tom and Lore,
Ciao,
thank you.
ciao.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.